Good morning, everyone. We're so lucky today. We have Bobbie the Weather Girl, but you want to tell them your real name?
Okay, it's actually Barbara Keith, but my nickname is Bobbie, so it's Bobbie Keith.
That's right. And you had some adventures earlier on in your life in Vietnam.
Uh-oh.
Right?
I did quite a few, yeah.
Quite a few. And she's here today because she's going to share them with us, and you're welcome and encouraged to ask questions. Please do. All right, Bobbie, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you. If you think about the women who were over there, approximately 10,000 women served in the military. Of that population of about 10,000, it's estimated that 7,500 were nurses, okay? Because we did have women who were enlisted, we had women in intelligence. The movement from North Vietnam, when the communists took over and the Catholics were leaving North Vietnam, coming into the South. Catholic Relief supported that by millions and millions of dollars. When they did come south, of course, you've got your Catholic nuns and missionaries, well, actually not missionaries, but the nuns. So you had a lot of people supporting the orphanages in the people in South Vietnam by Catholic Relief Services. And by the way, the Catholic Relief Service is the largest, best charity on this planet. We had 750 Red Cross workers work there, called donut dollies.
Yes.
I call them chopper chicks because you know what? Those donut dollies spent more time on choppers than any man in that place. Those donut dollies did. You can verify that.
Yeah.
They were out there 3-5 times a day in helicopters visiting the troops as morale boosters. So I will applaud our donut dollies. They were there. Not one woman was there against her will. They were all volunteers. Every single woman there.
Are you aware about the donut dollies that they charged us?
They
for coffee
charged
and
you?
donuts?
They charged you for no.
Honest to God.
Oh, that's
And then they had coffee and donuts they brought off the helicopter. It was 50 cents for a cup of coffee and 50 cents for a donut.
holy
That was a
totally. I'm
lot
sorry to
those
hear
days.
that. I am
Oh.
really sorry to hear that. I really, truly am sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Ann Kelsey, who ran the Special Services thing, who today runs the historical history of the women, she called it food for the soul. So we had women with books bringing them out to the guys for food for the soul. Then we had your federal government agencies there. We had the CIA, we had NSA, we had DEA, we had FBI, we had the Department of State, and with me, USAID. Have you heard about it? USAID is the Agency for International Development. We still have it. We still use it. We didn't have air conditioning at the first hotel I was in. So that to me was primitive, but my goodness, I found a beautiful beauty parlor. You know, and if you want to get your hair done as a woman, I'm sorry, you know, rather than washing it in cold water. That was a luxury right there. To have a beauty parlor was a luxury. Went across the street to eat. Breakfast was out. We ate 3 meals a day out all the time. We didn't have any cooking facilities. I was in a hotel, 2 different hotels for a year before housing became available and I got an apartment. But while living in the hotel, first thing that happened, that's only 3 weeks after I arrived, I'm out on the balcony and a rocket came in and hit right on Winway Street.
I'm interested in your role over there because
That was my
I know
role.
you.
Okay,
And what did you do?
Okay. I was employed by USAID, and I was in the commodity import program at the Mondial Hotel in Cholon, next door to SIOP headquarters. So we sort of, if you want to use the word liaison, because USAID covers for a lot of different agencies, as does other, okay? So we just stored documents. I worked in an office as a clerical, if you want to, I think that would be the best word. Paper pushing clerical. How's that sound for a cover, okay? So that was USAID. But that was my paid for job, was USAID. Beautiful people, wonderful people. We had the nurses with us in that building. We had everything in that building that USAID did. So I was exposed to a lot of wonderful, very patriotic, good people there for a cause. Okay. Later, after I had lived in Vietnam for a while, I was recruited to go out and be, what do they call it? interviewed to be the weather girl. I didn't have a TV, so I didn't know what they were talking about. I had never heard of a weather girl in my life. So, and I wasn't going to go, except my girlfriends, because we thought it was a pickup line, okay, when the guy asked me. But then when they said, well, you know, so I finally said, okay, I'm going to find out if this is a reality. And I went. Oh, about a week or two later, they called and said, come out, we're going to set you up and you're going to do it. Now, I didn't get paid for that. That was my volunteer job. And I did it as a volunteer, I'm going to tell you, and I will repeat this 100 times, worth more than $1 million. And the reason it was worth more than $1 million, you can't do that. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It gave me the opportunity to see the entire country. It gave me the opportunity to go out and visit our men and to get acquainted with other things that I never would have had I stayed in an office. I was down in the Delta. I was on the LST and the PBR boats. Man, is that a fun. You know, you go on those PBR boats and the LST boats. That's a trip, okay? And I'm prejudiced. My mother was a Navy nurse in World War II, okay? And I'm an Army brat, so I gotta go see the Army. And then you go out with the engineers. Took a trip out with the
Like
engineers. And you know what the engineers did for me? They called the studio and they said, you gotta send Bobbie out. This is what usually happens. Someone would call the studio and say, please send Bobbie out. We want her to smile and bring a smile to the troops. Okay, so they had high casualties. 82nd Engineer Battalion. I get out there. They put me on the roam, is it called a roam plow? The roam plow. We go out. This is what they use for clearing the jungle. This is why their casualty rate's very high when they clear the jungle. And you're protected with, what is it called? The thing that goes around the cage. Well, you're in a cage, literally, you're in a cage. It's kind of spooky too, you know, and the vegetation is kind of spooky. Well, we go on this little trip for fun in the roam plower. I get back and the landing thing had been cleared, but meantime, they had erected, this will kill you, a toilet in the middle of a round circle. Well, you know when you're on the boonies and you have to go and someone says, you see the bushes over there? That's what usually happened. This is the first time I ever was afforded the luxury of having a place to use the necessary station. And it was painted pink, and in it were pink towels and a wash basin. And I get out and everybody's around the circle clapping. God bless the engineers, you see? You see what they built? I mean, whoa, that was a trip. So a lot of what I did because of the volunteer work on TV was I was asked to go out and visit the troops. It was a handshake tours and morale boostings.
I didn't have the pleasure of a lot of socialization. But I kind of was hoping I'd be number one. And
how about when you went to Manila? You must have been number one.
oh, Manila, yeah, well, that's a different place.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what is this number one? You're not telling us.
Well, you'd be either number 1 or number 10. There's no in between.
Oh, there's no in between. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so we don't know these things, Don.
Number 10 is you're bad. I mean,
Okay.
and nobody wants to have anything to do with you. But if you're number 1, you're okay.
And so that means all the girls like flock towards you? The women would flock towards you?
Well, there wasn't many women flocking.
Probably not where you were.
No.
The scenery in Vietnam is beautiful.
It is
I mean, you can't imagine the beauty there is. The native, I mean, I don't know what you call it, just natural beauty, the beaches. I mean, you go to Trang, for example. The Special Forces had a camp right on the thing. Cam Ranh Bay, the same thing, you know, down in Cam Ranh Bay. The beaches, the R&R resort places, we used to take, there was a Commander Corey in the Navy out at either Tan Son Nhut or Long Binh, and he would fly down to the Delta and pick up the guys from the PBR LST boats, put them on a what does the troop carry, a C-141? Put us on we'd get on a C-141, and we would fly over to Con Son Island and have a one-day R&R. I mean, that's how nice, I mean, I'm sorry you didn't get that privilege,
No.
because I mean, I thought that was very nice of what Commander Corey would do for his people down in the Delta. So nice things like that happen.
Did you ever report the weather?
I'd go into the studio, they would have the map ready. Sometimes I would pull the ticker tape off, and I would be honest and tell the weather honestly. But in reality, it was always hot, it always rained, so you were always safe to fudge the temperatures, because actually nobody cared about the temperatures. They didn't. No, really. There's Angel Fire in New Mexico that pays attention to more women. That's a huge monument or memorial. Okay, but it took Jan Scruggs a long time to get the wall as well. And I'm wearing my National Park Service thing of my service to the National Park Service, where I was at the wall doing the name rubbings and listening to your stories.
Wow.
16 years at the wall. Now this is my service ribbon.
I do want to know more about the notoriety and the
What does that mean?
fame that you got as the weather girl.
Mm.
Look at her. Bobbie has some really cute photos online if you look her up. I mean, you have you were stunning. You look like you could have been in Hollywood.
I think all of us when we were 20 were really cute. And I couldn't rationalize what was going on. All the devastation, all the deaths, all the destruction, all was happening. So I thought it's time to get out. So I took a sanity sabbatical and I went to Kathmandu and I stayed there as a hippie. It was time to be a hippie in those days. And I had fun being a hippie for a few years.
For you.
Okay, my pride and joy, my absolute pride and joy. This was given to me by the CAV. Okay, I'm an honorary member of the CAV. And when I started wearing it, and then the Blue Max, because I went on a Cobra Battalion, you know those Cobra Battalion, is that my Blue Max? Cobra Battalion trip in the Cobra. So when I started wearing this, everywhere I went, people said, you've got to have our patch. You've got to put the patch on. You've got to remember us, Bobbie. So I've got a patch from most of the places I went. All this was done when I was in Vietnam. Okay,
And that one was
isn't that
too,
82nd Engineer?
Right,
That's
that's
these are the
that
ones that built the toilet for me.
Oh, nice.
And then we got the Plate Coup, the 4th Infantry. We got, gosh, I don't remember all of them. 199th has to be here because the 199th was the ones that protected us during Tet. They prevented the Viet Cong from getting closer into the city.
You're writing your own book.
I'm writing my own book because if you read anything that's ever written about you, you know what you want to tell people. You want to know what comes out of your heart. You want to tell people what you felt like. Like, you know, day one, I arrive. It didn't rain. By the time I got to my hotel, my mascara was running down my face. What did I learn the first day? You can't wear makeup. 4th of July, 1969. They gave me the captain's suite.
Wow.
And did you go any place for the R&R?
Yeah, I went back home.
You were married then. You were married then.
You were married then?
Men
Yes.
who went to Hawaii or back home,
Yes,
they were
I
married
was.
women, you know?
Oh.
Marianne Domkowski, AID. She was later embassy nurse in Mexico City
Oh, wow.
and
wonderful,
Saudi
wonderful.
Arabia.
Mhm.
Oh, my.
I'm glad to know that
You
because this
probably
is what,
crossed paths.
pardon?
You
Probably
probably
crossed
met.
paths.
I think it's fantastic because what people don't realize is how many women did serve.
Yeah.
Military women who were over there, which was 10,000. Okay? Now, out of the 20,000, 750 were Red Cross workers. Then you got Special Services, you got USO. And I'm counting the women who sold cars and stuff in the exchanges, the PX and the commissary, those type of things. A lot of civilian women.
They almost have been at Saigon because we didn't have any battle.
Did you ever play on the golf course in Saigon while the war was going on?
The only thing I got to was the International House on Winway Street that we were given membership to. I love this with all my heart. I really do.
That's one
It's quite an honor to be
special.
CAV and Bluebacks and to have visited all of these places. And there's a few that didn't get on there, but these were sewed on when I was in Vietnam.
I'm happy to see my unit here
Where is it?
on the upper right. That one.
Right here? Okay, good. That means I went and saw you.
Did you get the quignon?
Yes, I did. I do. But I'm sorry I missed you.
Let's give a big round of applause